fa la 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 la, fa la la la.
Hey guys, I'm in Prague in the Czech Republic, and every year here on the eve of St. Nicholas Day, which is December 6th, the night before, something totally wacky happens at the old town square here in Prague. You might have heard of Krampus, a devil with horns. Krampus, who goes by different names but who is basically the devil, is an assistant to St. Nicholas. And St. Nicholas rewards children who have been good throughout the year. He gives them presents and candy and different gifts, and if you've been bad, you are put into Krampus' sack and he drags you to hell. So whereas in some parts of the world the idea of Santa Claus is this kind of reward to encourage children to be good so that they get something on the morning of Christmas, here you don't just get coal from Santa or nothing from Santa, no, you get dragged to hell. I'm just thinking back to being at the mall in North America and how little kids cry when they see Santa who's being really nice to them, and how totally different it is for kids here who actually are confronted by a devil who wants to drag them to hell. So a little bit of a different scale for scariness. We've just come from Vienna, Austria, where Krampus was actually on the front page of the newspaper, and windowsills had little Krampus figures, and even in bakeries there were Krampus cookies and St. Nicholas cookies. And before we came for the Krampus night, I was actually told sincerely by a bunch of different people to be very careful because there's a lot of drinking that goes on, and people actually do sometimes get beaten. And Krampus carries a whip and actually has whipped people at times. So there were a lot of police around. There was kind of a heavy security presence around the old town square in Prague. But I have to say, I have never met a more polite group of Krampuses before. I mean, I haven't met that many, but I went up to them and asked if I could have a photo. They were very polite. The whole concept of there being a devil to discourage kids from being bad is controversial, as you can imagine, and there is some debate about how appropriate it is to scare children into being good all year. And I'm sure it's different and totally depends on where you are. But I have to say, here in Prague, I didn't see any kids being scared. Krampus was very nice, and the kids would go up and talk to St. Nicholas, which was very sweet, and they also went up and talked to the devil in the exact same way. There was one woman who actually did seem legitimately scared. She was like covering her face like this and screaming, and her whole group of friends was screaming, and so two of the Krampuses were kind of having a bit of fun and pretended to drag her away, and they were messing up her hair, and she was screaming the whole time, and then one of the St. Nicholas guys came up with his staff and sort of intervened to free her from the Krampuses. But for the most part, they were super polite and nice and even offered to take photos with us. So I was prepared for there to be a lot more mayhem than there actually was. In Prague, as you're walking to the old town square looking for Krampus, you can see all of these people, kids and adults, who are wearing horns. Some of them lit up, other people are wearing like different toques that look like Krampus horns, and it almost has like a Halloween vibe to it, so it's almost like a Halloween Christmas type of celebration where people dress up and it's scary but it's also exciting. St. Nicholas Day is December 6th, or here in Czech Republic it's called Mikuláš, and that is when kids wake up and they find candy or treats hidden in their shoes. Sometimes it's in a bag hidden somewhere in their room, but either way they are given candy on December 6th, and it really signifies the beginning of Christmas, which is now just around the corner. As the trio of St. Nicholas, the devil, and an angel were leaving the old square in Prague, we were kind of walking behind them, and it was so funny because they must have been hungry from their night of rewarding and punishing children because they pulled off the road and stepped in for a late night snack. This definitely has to be one of the most out there Christmas traditions I've ever heard of. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of this Krampus devil tradition. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!